Hello viewers, welcome to this video on some of the curl command line usage which I was thinking to demonstrate for some time now. So about a year ago actually I did a curl overview a video, and in that video I explained some of the curl's concepts and the protocols that it supports and so forth. So in that video, I also mentioned that curl has two main usage. One is to use curl as a command line tool, and the other one is to use it as a library in some of the applications, particularly this libcurl tool or libcurl library that somebody can use it in their C programs because libcurl is written in C. Command line tool of curl is also written in C. So if somebody wants to use curl functionality in their C applications, they can use libcurl tool. So in that video, we looked at an overview of curl and its history, the protocols that it supports that you can see. So the one-stop shop of everything about curl is this particular page that you see is maintained by the curl maintainer as well, and it has all what you need to know about curl. So I highly recommend that you uh, skim through this, bookmark this, go through this for any doubts about curl, or if you want to know anything in detail. And there is also this free ebook done by the curl maintainer himself, which is free to download. And some of the things that I'm gonna follow today on the curl command line usage was actually taken from this book. In fact, because I read this book, it was well written. Took a while for me to read though because I didn't read it continuously, but it's a worthwhile reading. So for you to know in and out about curl, so this is the book for you to refer. So for those who don't have time to read the book, I think you can watch this video to know about how curl works in command line. So let's dive into the command line, obviously. And for this demonstration, I'm actually going to use uh, this particular thing which I found very useful, RESTful API .dev, which is a real REST API which is ready to handle your HTTP request 24/7 for free. So I just tried some of these requests, and this is the request URL, and you can go into various things like list of objects, list of object by IDs, single object, add object, update object. And for you to do testing, I think this is a great thing, a great API, and a good resource to have. So keep this also bookmarked if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to use this, and time to time I'm also going to use this page to fetch details as well. And yeah, let's get started. And for that we need the command line tool. So let's open it up. So the easiest or the first thing that you can do with curl is to get some resource from curl, right? So first of all, if you are running a Mac or a Linux or Unix operating system, it's very likely that you already have curl installed. So I'm using Fedora here, so you can just use curl-v to see the version of the curl that you are using. Curl-v that curl hyphen help. This will also give you the version, or like it shows this one, gives you the details. And if not, please refer to your uh, operating systems documentation and Google it to see how to install it in your respective operating system. In Windows also, there are some binaries available for curl. So you should be able to install it there as well, and maybe in Sigwin or somewhere, right? So let's see how to use curl. So the most simplistic example would be something like this. So I'm going to fetch this page, uh, the curl's official page basically. So if you do that thing, basically it's going to bring uh, the the page's HTML and all the related details about that particular page here, which is the HTML that you see here. And depending on the speed of your connectivity, the time it takes to bring down this HTML might vary, right? So that's important to note as well, right? So let's call this particular thing, for example, I want to get list of all objects. So how can you get that thing? Is like curl something like this. When you do that, you get the JSON response like this in an array because it's a list of objects. So so that's the most basic usage. But how do you get more detail about your call? So for that, you can ask curl to be little verbose. This hyphen V stands for verbose, and when you do that thing, it's going to show you some details about the headers that it is sending, the SSL handshake details, and the protocol, the HTTP version that curl is trying to connect to this particular server, HTTP server, and the details about various headers that it sends and so forth, right? And finally, of course, what came back from the server. So this less than sign indicating incoming message, and all of this were outgoing message. It's related to outgoing message is what it entails. Is the outgoing message, and other details are like related to handshake and so forth, right? So you can get those details, which is handy, and it doesn't matter where you enter this. For example, you could have entered this hyphen v here. It's just the same. It doesn't matter where you do that. So as you can see, you get the response there. And there are situations um, where, for example, you don't want this verbosity. So then for that, you can say no verbose, right? It's just like in default's case, not having no verbose or anything is going to be something like that, right? So we didn't get any response, but you can specifically say you don't want as well. Okay, so let's say you want to store this particular message into a file. You can do it in multiple different ways. For example, you could just use this and redirect it to, let's say, API results, something like this. Then obviously you're going to get something like this. So let's open this, and you see the response there, right? And that is one way of getting it. But sometimes you want more details, right? And so let's see how to do that, and maybe complete stream including actual transferred data. You can do something like curl, you can say the trace command, and then you can say dump, and your obviously your URL, which is this, right? I need that, um, and it's going to print out everything, and you can also see the dump. Now see, the dump has a lot of details. Now this is useful when it comes to debugging certain things, and see what exactly comes along with some of your text details, and the complete um stream level information. All of that will be dumped here. So which is a good thing to have. So I'm gonna remove that. But if you don't want these uh, binary values and all. There is another way of doing it. For example, you can say only trace ASCII. You just do like this, you get a response. But now let's see what is there in dump, and you don't see anything very uh, binary, right? It's mostly textual and ASCII related information is what they are. But this is very useful when it comes to debugging your REST clients and your server responses and things like that, right? So that's a cool thing to have. And so there is also, let's say, you can use uh, very simple call like this, but I'm gonna say trace time, and it's basically going to respond. So I thought it's going to give me the time as well, but maybe it's useful when it comes to in this matter. Uh, but yeah, so you can try that as well. But one other thing is, let's say, thought this, you can say once done, say uh, so to make it clear, response received. So you can do like this. So this is to say, basically, once everything is done, just print this. So for example, you see you got the response. It's just for you to know that everything is done. It's just a handy feature to have, like not very useful, but just a handy feature to have. But you can also do things like this. For example, you can say uh, something like this, curl hyphen w, and then you can ask percentage content type, and also give a new line and code and the response code and so forth. So there are some variables like this you can use, and I ask you to refer to the curl's documentation to know what are the other variables you can use. There are a bunch there, but something like this can be used. For example, in that case, it's going to print the type and the code for you once it is done as well. It's also a handy way of knowing stuff. Okay. Well, so some situations, your API is going to tell, or API or web page is going to send something called a 301 or a 30x type of response codes, which basically means it is requesting you to redirect and check in somewhere else. Basically, redirect means the server says, okay, you requested a resource from me, but I don't have it. Please go and look at another place. And that place will be sent back to the client in a location header in the first response with the 30x response code. When the 30x comes, the client will have to, for it to successfully go fetch the right information, it has to go look in the new URL that the server responded with. So there are various response codes. For example, 301 status codes means redirect is permanent, which means next time the client wants to send a request to the original server, it doesn't have to send to the original server because the the redirection is permanent. Even if the client asks from the server again, it's going to definitely tell, go look in the other place. Rather, the server has instructed the 301 means client can cache the new location and go look there instead of asking the server once again. So 302 response code is basically a temporary redirect, and there are also other 303, for example, and it's a must that client should make a get request in the subsequent calls and so forth. So and there are newer relatively new additions to this 30x is this basically 307 and 308 messages. Again, 308 is for permanent, 307 is for temporary redirections. But what it says is, okay, initially client made a post request to the server, but the subsequent request has to be the post as well, something like that. So to do this testing, I already got a another server, which is a Node.js server that I spawned that does this work for us. So let's do that. For example, if I do this, so this I'm calling another server here. So curl. So let's clear this. So curl my hyphen v, and I'm going to use this old path. So here it says 302 basically, right? The curl sent a request here. Basically, this request here, it's running in my local host, and the server responded back with 302, which means temporarily look in this place, new path, instead of the old path. So obviously, which means if I do this, it should respond back with because subsequent request. This is the new destination. This response came back with this. But you could ask curl to do this at once. So rather than you have to do it, you can say with this L, you can tell follow the redirects, which means don't terminate right away, but just follow the redirect. As you can see, initially it gave us 302, but then because we asked curl to follow the redirects, it's going to ask a new get with the new path and going to get, respond with the message. So that's another way of doing it. It's a handy way of knowing some stuff. Okay. And sending data is important. So how you send data to curl for the server is using various different ways are there, for example. And so all of these commands that I'm writing here, I will put these details in a another place, and I will add the GitHub repository or something which you can refer for more details. And for example, you could do curl hyphen d uh, and whatever your data, something like this, arbitrary data, and then your URL, something like this. So let's see an example there. So for example, I want to do this post. So let's send this post. How can we do that thing? So that's what we're going to look at next. Yeah. Okay, so we want to send some data. So I want to make this post call, which you can do by like this. So curl has something called hyphen x, which is the method. Curl is smart enough to infer the detail even if you don't do that thing. I'm gonna send data means you have to put something like this, and you want to send some uh, JSON, right? For example, this is JSON, uh, but let's say I'm just saying I'm gonna send a name called dummy name and just that, right? And I'm going to tell let's say uh, and I want to find this, right? So let me copy that and come back here. If I do this, uh, oh, I think I made a mistake here. Maybe I did close this. Okay, so if I do it, it's going to say some error 415 unsupported media type. One of the examples of getting 415 would be uh, would be sending a request content type header which is not equal to this one. So this response is coming from the server. I can ask for more details with this hyphen v. See, it says unnecessary use of x. Post is already inferred, but this is the data that you are getting. And basically, it's a 415 message. So you need to send a proper uh, content type. So what curl sends by default is this, which is not accepted by the server. So we need to send the proper header. The way to send the header is something like this. You can say content type, and I can say application slash JSON. And in this case, you are getting a response with something like this because you just send that thing. But other way of doing that is, for example, I need to send this format, right? And you see, if I just do like this, it's going to be really difficult for me to send this data. If I just copy this, it's going to come like this. And I need to do the rest of the things as well this way. If I do it this way, it's getting the response. But now, how how about like this is a multi-line thing? It's going to be very difficult for you, especially if you have uh, a bigger JSON, all of that, right? So now here you got a response. So how to send that kind of data is it's good to copy this into a particular file, like a JSON payload. So let's do that next. If I just do, I need to copy this and put it into a file, basically. Let's say create or JSON payload simply. Uh, and I can just copy paste it. And then instead of doing this lengthy thing, what I can do is we need this part anyway that you can't avoid. So curl, you can say D, and then you can say at sign, and then give your file name and the remaining stuff. It will send that particular uh, message to the server, just like the same thing. So it's quite handy to do it in that way as well, which is good. Well, so curl also supports, for example, you could know earlier I used a for example a local host with something like this, right? So which instead of doing localhost you could do the IP address as well. It will be the same. Let's try with the IP version 6. I'm not sure whether that will work in my machine, but you can try. IP version 6 is something like this. For local host, it will be like this. And yeah, it doesn't work in IP version 6. It's because in my machine it's not possibly configured, but it should work if it's there, right? That's the IP version 6 address. Yeah, and that's because my server is also not configured to the IP version 6 address as well. Okay, so the other thing about curl is, now see here we used in the previous command we used the port, right? And in the other case there was no port, it's just the domain name, and most of the time it will be like that when you really make a request, right? um, okay, so curl apart from HTTP, also supports other protocols like FTP and so forth. But let's say if you have an FTP related thing to do, I don't have it for the time being. You could just use FTP uh, and let's say ftp.example.com and to find the README file somewhere in the FTP. So you can fetch that as well, and you can do that and see it will work. Um, okay, so the other thing is the output. So I previously showed the output, you can save it this way. Uh, output, you can do it this way. Another way of doing that is you can just say hyphen o new product response. You can just do it this way as well, and then look at new product response. You can see that as well. So that works. uh, I'm going to delete that. So that's another way of finding your output. And curl also supports ranges as well. For example, it's very powerful in doing that. For example, you could so I don't have an example to tell you this. You could do something like this. It's basically going to fetch all one after the other, like 1.png, 2.png, 3.png, up to 100.png. Curl will try one by one, um, and so forth, right? And it has patterns. For example, you could do something like this. Instead, uh, it will do, you know, 2.png, 4.png, 6.png. It will evenly increase it and so forth. And it also supports other types like, you know, ranges like this, for example. Sorry, I don't have an example to show, but this is from A to Z. So section A, section B, section C, all those one after the other, it will fetch as well. And you can also give a list like this. For example, it will find example.com slash 1.html, 2.html3 alpha, and so forth. It will find details. And curl can, you can request curl to send a certain number of bytes also. Let's try that. How do I do this? For example, let's get the full request. Maybe we'll go to this URL, which is curl.sc, uh, which is okay, this one. So it fetches everything, right? So, but I just want a little bit of things, not that much. So I can say I only want a range from 0 to only 300 bytes. So see, it's going to only get me back 300 bytes, which is a powerful thing because you don't want everything. You maybe just you just want the first few bits to see how the response looks like and so forth, right? So it also supports other types. For example, you can say I want everything from 299 to the rest. It's going to respond back with that, and you won't see the initial bits then. When you go back and see, you won't see the initial bits. For example, no, where is it? So you find it by yourself, so you see the same thing happening there. Okay, curl also supports multiple downloads at once. For example, you could do something like this, right? And so I can say 1.0, the output for the first one is going to be this. So let's do that, uh, which is our, let's say I want to do this URL. Okay. And the second one is going to be, let's say just this. It's going to send both requests at once, and you will have the output in 1.txt, that one, as you can see, and you can also see the output from 2.txt, which is handy as well. Okay. Okay, I'm going to remove that, which is quite useful when you want to have multiple downloads as well. Okay, so the other thing is you can ask curl to send compressed information, for example, like this, but rather we can ask it to ask the server to compress something like this. This will save bandwidth basically. So if the server supports compression, it will send the response back in compressed format, and curl will handle it seamlessly, and that's why you don't see it in action, because curl will decompress it if it does. So you can check that. Let's say if I do this way, uh, we should be able to see, let's say we need to know how the response comes here. So we had to see some of the headers. Now, but here in this case, it has sent the content length, means it's not compressing it. But sometimes uh, I know, so there is a content length, it is compressing actually. So as you can see here, it's compressing by an algorithm called Brotli. Sometimes it will be something like gzip and so forth, right? So based on that, the client will have to do the decompression, and curl in this case does the decompression automatically, and it will save bandwidth as well. And sometimes curl, not just curl, any HTTP server, sometimes they will send a content length like this, which means the entire content is sent all at once, or in certain cases, it will send a header called transfer encoding, right? So transfer encoding, usually the value will be chunked. And in that case, the server is sending the responses in piecemeal basis, like in chunk format. So the client will have to do the reading over and over again until it has an end of file, and that's how it will know the entire a message has been sent by the server. And in that case, you won't get a content length, right? So usually that's how it works. So yeah, so those are the things that I wanted to cover from today, but there is actually a lot more to curl than what I just showed you here. So all those details I will edit in the the file that I mentioned. I'll probably host that in GitHub or somewhere, and add a link to the description, or add the entire thing in the description if it allows me to do that. So this is how the curl thing is, and if you're a developer, you should know all of this. If you have it in your fingertips, your testing is going to be quite easy and powerful as well. And I will see you in another post, most probably with another video on how to use libcurl in a C program. If time permits, I'll get back to you on that. And until then, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in another video very soon.